Governor, after last night, how would you characterize the state of the Republican nomination fight?
You know, he who endures conquers. It's going to be a long race, and it's going to be a tough race because it's a nomination worth having. Because Hillary Clinton is a deeply flawed but difficult and tough opponent on the other side, and so it's going to be a long, tough race. But I'm in it for the long haul, and I think last night we showed people that I'm tough, I'm tested, and I'm mature, and that's what you're going to want on the other side of the stage against Hillary.
Is there a front runner in the race now?
No, never has been. I mean, there has not been a front runner in this race. This race is wide open. When you look at all the different candidates and how this works, no, it's not nowhere near that yet. And remember, in late October of 2011, Herman Cain was first in the polls, so we know how that turned out.
Remind people how old you are.
I am 53 years old.
You keep talking about maturity and experience. Do you have more of that than Marco Rubio?
Oh, well, I certainly have more experience than Marco. And there's no question about that. I've been a governor in one of the toughest states to govern in the country in the last 6 years, and I was the United States Attorney for 7 years before that, running one of the largest offices in the country. So yeah, I definitely have more experience, and more experience as an executive, and that's what really matters. I mean, listen, let's face it. I like Marco; he's a good friend of mine. But you know what? We've already had a one-term United States Senator as president, and we saw how well he ran the government, and Marco even compared himself to him last night. So I don't think that's the kind of experience that we necessarily want, but Marco's a good guy, a credible candidate. But if you're asking on experience, there's no question I have more experience on the executive side.
What about the other word you've been using, maturity? Not personal maturity, but in terms of politics. Do you have more political maturity than Marco Rubio?
Well, listen, I have more political maturity than anybody else on that stage because I've worked in the toughest media market in the country for the last 13 years as a Republican. And you take a lot of hits and a lot of knocks, and I certainly have. And here I am, standing and speaking my mind and continuing to move forward. And I think that gives you an enormous amount of toughness and maturity. And that's what you're going to need against Hillary, because let's face it, Mark, you know, that race, they think it was hard last night. It was tiddlywinks compared to what it's going to be come September of 2016.
What aspects of what you've accomplished as governor of New Jersey, what sort of policy ideas, broad proposals would you take to Washington and say, as president, I'll do for the country what I did for New Jersey?
Well, first of all, take on the really tough issues first. You've got to be willing to take those on. So in New Jersey, we took on property taxes in the beginning. We have slowed the growth of property taxes to record levels now in New Jersey. We took on the pension and benefit fight, and we have made the pension and benefit system much better in New Jersey. We have some more work to do, but we've made it much better than it was when I came in. We took on teacher tenure. We need to take on teacher tenure across the whole country so that we can improve our educational system for our kids. And lastly, it'll be an attitude. I want this job. I'm not going to sit here and complain about how hard it is, how difficult it is to do this. I'm not going to complain about any of that stuff. I'm here because I want the job. I'm going to bring that attitude to the job every day, and people can tell, and that makes a difference.
Some people have raised questions about your economic record in New Jersey. So again, what have you done besides in terms of pension reform? What have you done in terms of private sector job growth and economic development? Again, ideas that are applicable to what you could do as president.
Sure. Well, first of all, Americans for Tax Reform has said I vetoed more tax increases than any governor in American history. I'm going to stand up to try to make sure that taxes do not increase on the American people and in fact get lower. Secondly, new statistic that just came out yesterday, New Jersey's jobless claims are the lowest they've been in 15 years. That shows the strength of the New Jersey economy. We've helped to have the private sector generate over 200,000 new private sector jobs in the last 5.5 years in a state that in the 8 years before I became governor had zero net private sector job growth.
What are the policy ideas undergirding that again you would do as president?
Sure. It's lower taxes, Mark. It's significantly less regulation. I froze regulation in New Jersey and then cut it back by 1/3 over where it was with my predecessor. And it's making sure that you free up in the economic realm people in the state to do what they do best and get government out of the way. And if we're doing anything, we should be trying to give them a little nudge in the back and help them along. We'll bring all those principles to Washington.
The current foreign policy challenges that the country is facing, which ones do you consider to be the most pressing that you wish President Obama were being more aggressive on right now?
I would say there's four. First, the situation in Syria is desperate. The president needs to be assertive. He needs to set up a no-fly zone, and he needs to look Vladimir Putin in the eye and tell him enough is enough. Secondly, it's Russia, and making sure that we engage them both economically and diplomatically to try to improve that relationship and to set limits to it. Third is China, the most important and most complex relationship the next president will have to deal with. And we want to move that forward both economically and make sure that we contain them militarily. And the fourth is to make sure that we get better relationships with our neighbors in Canada and Mexico. They're our biggest trading partners. We need to have better relationships with them, not only to improve our economy, but also to make a stronger North American continent to work to try to bring energy independence to Western Europe away from Putin and Russia.